Buy land at the auction. If you buy from the auction, you can typically buy it at a pretty low cost. I say low cost, it's not necessarily the lowest. I would consider the second option that we're going to cover the lowest cost, but this is pretty low. There's lower competition at the auction. There is competition at every auction, guys, because the auction has sophisticated players. There aren't just like clowns running around at auctions. Sometimes people, when they're new to real estate, they think, oh, I'll just go to the auction. That's where you can get the deals for really cheap. It's like, not necessarily. Sometimes you can, but there are sophisticated players, and they might have something like, hey, they own some land over here, and then this plot comes up on the sale and it's next to something they already own. So they're going to go $10,000 over a reasonable range for that land. You have to understand what's going on. Like, why are people doing certain things? Or else it won't make sense to you. But there's lower competition because still you're not dealing with the MLS. You're not dealing with a bunch of unsophisticated people. The good part about investing around other sophisticated players is there's very few sophisticated players. It's tough competition, but less. So it does give you the ability for somebody to get up. They blew up their 100K budget for this auction, and now it's kind of a free-for-all. You can have those situations. There's easy due diligence at most of these tax sales when it comes to land. When it comes to just buying properties from an auction, it's not necessarily low or easy due diligence because an existing structure comes with different conditions, like somebody could be living there or not. When you're dealing with just land, it's just dirt or it's just grass. Like, clearly nobody's living there. Nobody's owner occupying a land lot. So there are less issues on your due diligence. It's easier to get title. It's easier to move that through the process and to kind of plan there. Another pro is you can get multiple lots. If you're going to the auction, you can kind of keep going every month or every couple of weeks, and you can acquire lots that are next to each other. So if you're looking to build like a bigger building, like, hey, I want to build a 20, 30 unit building, 50, 100 unit building, the auction can be your friend if you keep going because you can acquire consecutive land lots that are connected. Some of the cons, redemption rights. Even though you can't own or occupy land, there can be a redemption right where you win it at the auction and the person who lost the deal to the tax sale or whatever type of auction this is, they have 60 to 90 days to redeem. And some people do redeem. You could have some issues there. You have to research it. Land bank priority. We're going to talk about the land bank next. Sometimes the land bank has priority over what land lots get acquired versus which ones don't. If the land lot or the land bank has priority, they will come to the auction and basically they will take some of the best plots. You might be looking at it like, man, this thing's got multifamily zoning, this thing's a gold mine. They just step in and take it. They're like, sorry, Philly Land Bank here, we got priority, because they're building different types of opportunity. There's additional lien research whenever you're buying from an auction. There could be other liens that you weren't aware of, you didn't know about. So you just have to be conscious of that stuff. And then you must buy cash for the most part at the auction. Don't hold me to that because there are micro scenarios where you can come in with a lender or you can come in and do different things. But in general, you must buy cash at an auction. You put down 10% with the winning bid, and you got to come back within 30 days or less with the rest of the money, cash. That's how the auction works. So that could limit you versus some other strategies where you can use different levels of financing. So this will be one location I would look at. Those are the pros and cons. The second place you can buy from is the city. And this is in most major cities. You can buy land directly from the city. Some of the pros is dirt cheap. I mean, you can't get cheaper than really buying it straight from the city. There's minimal competition because there aren't a lot of people. I mean, there are less sophisticated investors at the auction than there are on the MLS from a percentage standpoint. When you go to RFPs, there are very few people that have like the architect, the engineer, the development experience, the desire to do that many deals. Larger projects, which is good for RFP. So you get this economy of scale. If you're working on 10 land lots all connected, and you're turning them each into individual townhomes, 10 ground up townhomes, there's an economy of scale there because you're building next to yourself. So you can bring in a contractor and say, hey, you want to frame out 10 houses? Hey, do you want to do the foundation for 10 houses? Now you're getting a 10 house discount. And you can stage your project where you're running framers straight through and then you're running mechanics straight behind them in a straight line. And you just keep running through. So there's some economy of scale when you're building at a larger level, and you'll get the savings. And there's great locations. Cons, redemption rights, they don't necessarily play in here, but they can slow down. I've seen them slow down some RFPs. from like closing days. You have sophisticated competition, even though you have less of it. There's other developers that have done, maybe have already done an RFP. So now you're competing as a new person against somebody who's already done it. There's upfront investment. So you do have to, connect with the architect, the engineer. You might have to pay the architect, hey, here's $2,000. I need you to put together the plans so that we can submit them with the RFP so that we can really knock their socks off here. There might be some cost to that. So you might be looking at 10, 15,000 getting into an RFP. Other thing I don't like, cons, strings attached. They may want you to do things to the properties, or to only sell them to people that make no more than 120% of the area median income, or the average median income for the location, for the zip codes, for the area, for the city. So they may put some strings attached on this thing, and they typically do. They want to make sure the opportunity benefits the community. The last one, direct from motivated sellers. This is the third place where you can buy land. Motivated sellers, just maybe somebody dies, somebody inherited a house, or a plot of land. Hey, granddad owned all this land over here. We don't know what to do with it. So you inherit the land, and then those people will sell the land, and they're not sophisticated necessarily. So they're just like, well, what's it worth? We can get 50K, whatever. That land might be worth $250,000 as is. And then you could develop it. But a motivated seller, it could also be somebody who is in foreclosure, pre-foreclosure on something else, and they're falling behind, or they used to own the land, the house got bulldozed because they let it go, and now it's not worth anything. And you call them up and they're like, you're gonna be 10K for that? Hell, I'll take it. They don't even care what it's worth. It's worth 100K.